Hi, I'm Natalie,
I'm Amanda.
and welcome back to Smut and Study podcast. Today we are diving into a brand new series. Oh gosh, I almost dropped the book. It was heavier than I thought it was. Fourth Wing. So if you've been following along with our journey, we just finished the full ACOTAR series. So now, because Onyx Storm just came out and it's really popular, we decided to talk about the Fourth Wing
Perfect
series.
timing.
So once again, there are spoilers, so if you haven't read this book, Iron Flame or Onyx Storm, just be prepared. We are, diving into details, but we are excited for this journey.
All right, so Fourth Wing. This is actually the first book that I picked up. Natalie recommended. I asked her, I was like, what book should I start with? She's like, oh, I love ACOTAR, but since you like dragons, because I love Game of Thrones, she's like, read Fourth Wing. I heard it's really good, blah, blah, blah. So this book actually made me fall in love with reading again. And anyway, it's pretty much about a girl who was destined to become a scribe in a world of Dragon War College type stuff. So she's destined to be a scribe like her father did, but her two older siblings were dragon riders, and her mom is the professor of this war college, kind of forces her in to become a dragon rider. Violet is the main character. She's actually very weak. Like in most books that you see, the female character is normally super weak.
Yeah, she's got like brittle bones and
like
shit.
She's tiny. Like she's like a peanut pretty much.
Yeah.
Like compared to like the others. So like dragon riding is not for her, it seems like.
Yeah.
Just based off of what
like she couldn't book. Like stay on. Like she's so tiny that you're just like, how can you even get on the back of any sort of dragon and like
so it's pretty much like the book is like kind of you have to become a dragon rider to pretty much survive.
Yeah.
Like if you don't bond a dragon, like you're not going to survive. And like I feel like everybody's heard the quote on either like TikTok, like anytime you hear like Fourth Wing, it says like a dragon without its rider is a tragedy, a rider without their dragon is dead. So like that pretty much to me just like sums up the series, because that's just the way
it is.
Yeah, that's just the way it goes.
That's the way it goes. But I mean, I feel like from the very beginning of like the start of this book, like it's not even like you could just be like, oh, I'm gonna enroll in like this college. No, you would freaking walk across a parapet. It was like everything came with like a challenge. It was like every class, it wasn't just like you sit down and you learn stuff. It was like you're doing combat, you're doing this, like you have to practice. It was like everything was like a freaking like lesson, and it was like if you couldn't pass it or if you couldn't like almost survive it, like you literally could die, or you were just like
death was always an option.
Like it was an option. It wasn't just like, oh, you have to pass like
you're gonna get kicked out of school. Like no, you're gonna die out of this school.
Like it was like, okay, like and today we're doing this, and it was like you may die.
Okay. Lovely. I'm so excited. And like I like this book because like throughout the whole first half of the book, like Violet like struggles, like nothing came like naturally easy to her. No, like she's actually fucking struggles.
Yeah, she's getting like her ass handed to her. Like she's super weak. Yeah, like I felt for her. You were like,
and like the best part about this book too is like, she's going to this war college or whatever, and they have to, like she said, you have to pass like the parpet, which is like this little piece of, I don't know, fucking stone or something. Pretty much like a balance beam, but like super high up in the air. Like if you fall, like you pretty much die.
So that's the only way you can get in.
It's funny because, in the beginning of the book, Violet's like saying like, oh yeah, like my friend Dane like is in there. Like he was like a childhood friend, blah, blah, blah. Like they were telling her, like her sister, I think, told her, she was like, once you get in there, find Dane, just find Dane. And they're like, stay away from Xaden Riorson or whatever. And she's like, oh,
should have known him immediately. Yeah. Immediately threw a flag. So I was like, okay.
Of course, she's like going up like the parpet thing. She meets this girl behind her, Rhiannon, and they're kind of like talking like, oh gosh, like, we're both nervous, blah, blah, blah. She actually ends up helping Rhiannon because Rhiannon has like these slippery boots on, apparently. Yeah. And Violet gives her like one pair of her boots. Like they switch like a boot each, pretty much. Yeah. So first of all, like you're going into this war college like thinking like, okay, like if I don't even pass this thing, I'm gonna die like immediately because I'm gonna fall off this thing. And now you're switching shoes with someone. Like you're brave. Like you're already scrawny and you're already like helping someone else, and you don't even know if you're gonna pass.
Yeah, it really showed Violet's character like right off the bat of like the type of person that like she was. But definitely one of those moments where you're just like, I don't know if I would have done the same. Like, and like, especially if it was like someone that like I had just met, like, I feel like it'd be like, if it would be different if it was like me and you and you're like, I wore the wrong shoes, and I'm like, okay, like, I'm gonna help you, like, you're my girl, I'm gonna help you out. But if it was just some random bitch, I'd be like, I'm gonna fight for my life here. Like, oh my god, yeah.
And then, like, the best part too is it's like, stay away from Xaden. It's like she gets to the top of the like parpet before she's about to go off, and he's like, Sorrengail, and she's like, oh fuck, like, here's the guy I'm supposed to avoid. He's like standing right here,
avoided for 30 seconds.
And like Rhiannon goes first against, like, she goes down it, she gets it through, and of course, as Violet's about to go, it's like storming.
Yeah.
And
windy, yeah, it's horrible.
And she's like this scrawny little thing, so she has to go across. And then there's this asshole behind her, Jack Barlow. And
if you know anything about, if you've obviously read these books,
he's the Tamlin, pretty much.
Send a trigger
without a love interest. He's like Tamlin from McIntyre, just like hated. But she goes across this thing, and she has this guy up her back, like trying to just kill her, like off the bat, like wants to like shove her off, and like obviously odds are all against her. Like we said, it's storming. The guy's chasing her. She makes it across.
Yeah.
So yay, Violet, and yay. Jack makes it across too. Unfortunately, but like, do you? If this was you, like, do you think you would survive the parpet?
Not a chance.
Even if it was like sunny out, no wind, anything.
Maybe if it was sunny. And if it was no wind, but I think that I would like to, like, as we all do when it's like you're reading these books and you're just like, I'd be the main character. Yeah, I do this, or like, yeah, like that would happen to me. I just feel like unless it was really sunny and I had a good day, like, I just don't think I'd be that lucky. Like, I don't think, like, especially if it was raining and windy, like,
yeah. Honestly, though, I feel like for like short people, like Violet actually had an advantage because, like,
yeah, that's true.
I don't know, like when you see like all gymnasts, like they're pretty much short, like gymnasts.
Yeah, they're
so
tiny,
their center of gravity is like so much better. So like if you're actually balancing like on a beam, like if you're short, I feel like you have actually the advantage because I don't know,
like you. Yeah, I feel like you'd probably be good at it. I mean, I feel like I have like good balance, so I feel like I'm not being like, oh, I'd be 2 steps in and I'd be done.
Yeah, I think me and you would have made it. That's all I have to say. We would have made it into the college, but like,
I just don't.
I still would be shitting my pants like on the way up because I'd be like, oh shit, like I just got here. And I'm
I would be like actively like, where's the bathroom before I go across this thing?
Is there patty steps?
Like, is there help? SOS. Yeah, I don't know. I think I could do it, but I also think that like, especially just for like Violet, like they made it a point that it was like raining and like windy for her, and it was like she was supposed to be so weak, and that was like she made it across, and that was already like one little like inkling for us to be like, okay, like there's more here than really, you know what I mean? Where I feel like it was just like average Joe Schmo, and they're like, it's raining windy, like I got effed. Like, it's just
could you just imagine though if you're reading this book and it's literally like the main character, she goes across and she dies like in the first chapter, and you're like, well, what is it supposed to be about now?
I feel like what you thought it was gonna be about her, it's not.
But like poor Violet, she gets across this stupid parpet thing, and like this freaking Jack, she's like sitting there like, oh, I freaking survived, and this Jack guy's like trying to kill her straight off the bat, like bully, such a bully.
Yeah. But like, what is your deal, bro?
But
like,
then she meets Dane.
Got here.
So she gets with Dane.
Dane,
like, you know, puts like her under his wing or whatever.
And in the beginning, we're like, yay, Dane.
Yeah, we think that they're gonna be like the couple. Yay, because the first little inkling of like, oh, stay away from Xaden, like that didn't like ring a bell in my mind. It just was kind of like,
it rang for
Dane,
me.
Yay.
It rang for me, but I think it only rang for me because this wasn't the very first book that I picked up trying to get back into reading. I had already read multiple books before I picked this up, and so I was just kind of like I knew
little naive me was like, oh, what's
gonna happen? I knew where this was going, and it was like Dane had like a quick like, we can circle back, but Dane's like relationship with Violet was a very, in my mind, very quick of being like, oh, like I really like this guy, to he needs to shut the hell up and get away from her. Like, he's pissing me off. Like,
red flag.
The short-lived of like,
he was very pushy.
Dane, I was like, I can't with like, it was already like very red flag, very pushy, very just like, you're so weak, like, you need to listen to me, and you don't do this, and like, you won't make it, and you won't whatever. It's like, stop telling me what I can and can't do, and like how I'm gonna die. And like, it was just very always negative, very like, I knew best, very like, well, I'm trying to protect you, and you're like, okay, well, like, she's a grown woman, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like it like got like too much, where you were just
you're
like,
looking out for her, but like it's overbearing.
Yeah,
like,
it
let
was
her breathe.
Just too, yeah.
But like, good thing for Violet that like she was supposed to be a scribe, so like she's super into like, you know, history and like learning, and like she wanted to be like into the books and like writing the history pretty much. But obviously that didn't happen. So like, in all her academic classes, she was like good. But then when it came to the combat, because they each kind of got put into like squads.
Yes.
So like Xaden being like there for like the second or third year or whatever, I don't even remember. But
he had like squad like leader.
Yeah, he was like the wing leader.
Yeah, like the older kids were
like a camp counselor, pretty much. Yeah, like taking care of like the younger kids.
That's the term I was trying to.
But like,
in my head.
You know, they're in their little thing. So it gets to the point where they have to like do combat fights, and poor Violet's just getting beat up pretty much
to shit, and she's thinking in her head, like, she's like, she ain't gonna survive, like, she's not gonna make it. I mean, shit was getting broken, like, she was getting like
healed again and again, like
effed up. So then I love how she was like, I have to, like, she had to basically play it her own like rules.
She
and
put
start
her
poisoning
book smart into the street smart.
Yeah, she starts like poisoning people, so she only has to like they're basically inebriated like 30 seconds into the fight, so she just has to kind of like dodge around a little
Smart
bit,
girl.
and then genius.
I know, seriously.
I mean,
genius.
she would not have made it if she did not like
And like another thing, like Xaden just like being there, obviously she knows that she's supposed to stay away from Xaden, and like he kind of already like has been like giving her a hard time. Like saying like, oh, like I should kill you, blah blah blah, all this stuff.
What's with that? Like,
I know.
What's with like the theme of like
I'm gonna kill
the
you.
morally gray men? Like one day they're just like, you don't deserve to live, and the next day they're just like, if you die, I will also kill myself because I can't live without you. You're like, what the hell?
Yeah, so like pretty much, obviously everybody's interested in the guy that doesn't want them. I mean, come on, like.
Oh yeah, I mean, he gave off the whole bad
boy type from the
energy.
Very beginning.
He got like dark shit. He got it's like the whole vibe is dark.
And Dane is like, stay away from that man. Meanwhile, little Miss Violet, spying on fucking Xaden out here. She went outside to go get some like type of poisonous thing, and then all of a sudden she like hides in the tree, and Xaden and all those people are like talking, and she thinks that he has no idea. Meanwhile, later on in the book, you kind of find out like all these little things, and you're like, the man knew the whole freaking time. Which like I actually loved, because I'm like, she thought she was so sneaky.
Yeah. I also just love like throughout the book, like little hints of like what they make you think that like he's suffering from, like where they'll be like, oh, like he flexed his hand, or he's like grips like his hand, and you're just like, oh, like God, like he like low key like actually really hates her, but he's just trying to like restrain himself. Like this man is like falling hard, and he's just like trying to keep it like under wraps a little bit, and you're just like.
I also love when like they're doing mat to mat combat, and like it's him and her or whatever, and she's like, oh my God, I'm gonna die, but then at the same time she's like, I'm distracted by his muscles, but I'm gonna do something about a man working out with like some glistening sweat on the abs or something. It's just chef's kiss. Like obviously you have to picture all this stuff in your head, because like it's not like a movie where you like see a hot guy and you're like, ooh, but like here it's like you're like thinking in your head.
There's enough really good fan art.
Yeah, and there's good descriptions in the book of what like everybody pretty much looks like.
Like Violet has like silver hair, and like the fact that she's like freaking petite and like brittle bones and tiny, and then Xaden is just dark features. He has a scar like down his face, like the tattoos, the build, the muscly. Like they ain't describing Dane like that. No, I'll tell you.
Even though I saw some fan art of Dane, and I was like, oof, oof.
Well,
okay.
After Onyx Storm,
after that, he redeemed himself.
Yeah, he redeemed himself. But all right, we'll come back. We'll reel back into the first book.
But then like skipping forward because we're just gonna get to the good shit. The whole book was good, but like, okay, Xaden and Violet, you kind of already knew that they're endgame at this point because just the banter that we love, all the banter in these books. You know, you love the banter. They hate each other pretty much. You know, and then there's like the one scene where they're outside and they both finally like make out with each other after all this tension or whatever.
Picks her up and...
And it's kind of like, oh, like, I don't want to kiss you, but I'm going to. And I'm like, bitch, shut up and kiss. Like, stop playing around.
Stop telling me what you don't want. Okay.
But, like, I also love in this book because, okay, we have another shadow daddy. You know, the shadows are doing things. And...
I really love the shadow daddy.
I know this is, like, not until later in the book, but, like, I literally loved the smut scenes in these books because... He has the shadows. Yeah. Violet at some point gets her lightning like wielding, but like she can't control the lightning wielding, and I just think it's hilarious because it's like every time they have sex is like the time where like her lightning like comes out of fucking nowhere. And you know they're like burning an armoire down or like breaking like a wall or like lightning strikes like super close to the college. And like could you just imagine like being at that college and it's like a normal sunny day and you're like walking down the street and then all of a sudden it's like lightning strike and you're like, oh, they're fucking again, like what is going on?
They just won't stop.
It's like, and then you think you're like, oh well, every time there's a thunderstorm they're probably fucking, like
you're like those kids just doing it again.
And like, and also another like iconic scene that I loved when like Violet, like I said, this poor girl Violet, like she just struggles throughout the whole book, like and people don't like her either because I think they like found out that she was like poisoning people, you know. So it was just funny to me because like she's sleeping and then people like break into her room or whatever whatever, they like beat her up, she's like all fucked up, and then Xaden comes in and he literally just like his shadows come in and like everybody's just dead, like all of their necks are like snapped
hot.
And then he just like walks in and I'm like, we love a man like that.
We love a man,
we like the shadows.
We
like he didn't even care who it was, he didn't even like
it didn't matter
examine the seat like who's in there and blah blah blah. He just literally like snapped their necks.
That was his woman, and again he don't care.
No,
that's what we love is that
Xaden is like off the wall, like
Xaden is like, you know, like Akatar, we talked about like how it was just kind of like I'll burn like the world for you sort of thing, but like Xaden is like the epitome of that. Like it's like he don't give a rat's ass about anybody else.
He's like, I will kill anyone, anything.
He's like, tell me a name and I will kill them, and you're just like, God damn.
It's like, who did this to you? And you're like, oh.
Like, they're dead. They're already dead. It's so hot.
Obviously, we like literally just jumped around in the book or whatever. But like we said, if we talked about every little aspect of the book, we'd be doing like 2 hours, 3 hours.
Yeah.
So
it's too much.
Anyway, obviously this book is about dragons. So they have like this whole little thing where you have to bond with a dragon, and they take this class. You kind of learn about all the different dragons, like what the different colors mean, like how to approach them, all this stuff.
Yeah.
So I forget. I think it's like threshing, right?
Yeah, it's threshing day.
It's like threshing day. Yeah, that's when they bond with their dragons, and
which I just thought was so freaking cool.
Yeah,
they're just like, here, go out into this ginormous area, and there's just gonna be dragons.
Yeah,
and you'll just know.
And they're gonna pick you pretty much because like they're like telling you, they're like, oh well, like here's another opportunity to die. Like, you know, if you just approach this dragon wrong, you're gonna get scorched. Like. That's why like this book was just so savage.
It could be the best day of your life, or it could be the worst day of your life. Yeah. You know, whatever.
And like this is where like I said, this is the first book I picked up, but like I automatically knew the minute it was like, oh, the biggest, baddest dragon, like the black one. I was like, she bonded him. I knew it. Like I was like, they're bonding. Like
hell yeah.
So I wrote this down because it's just too much. Obviously, they bond the dragons. Violet gets bonded to Terran, which is a black dragon, and apparently he's like the biggest dragon pretty much.
Yeah.
And she also bonds a second dragon. And sorry for the pronunciation, but Andarna is what I'm just gonna say because I'm not.
She's like the cute little golden. She's on my little
and
shout out to my bestie Alexis for getting me this sweatshirt.
Super cute. And like
this little tiny down there, little tiny golden little baby.
We'll come back to how that happened. But then we have Xaden, who's bonded to Sable.
I say Sable, but
I say Sable too.
Again, guys, it's like basically learning a new language. So.
Yeah. And like Sagle's a blue dragon.
Yeah.
And like she's that bitch. I like her because she's just sassy.
And she is Darren's bitch.
Yeah, so Taryn and Sable are bonded. And like this is where this just might get a little confusing.
Yeah.
But so Dane, he's bonded to Kath, which like I really don't remember what color Kath is.
I don't.
Might be like red or something.
Yeah, I'm not too sure.
Rhiannon, who's also like this is the girl that Violet helped in the very beginning, so they're like best friends.
Yeah, they're besties, part of the crew.
She's bonded to Theurge.
Yeah. Again, I'm just reading this in my brain, and I just kind of skim over
the names and just
some of the names because I'm just like I don't know.
Yeah. And then we have Liam, who love Liam.
We'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
I'm not ready for it.
I don't even know how to, like I said, I don't even know these fucking names. Dine. We're butchering the shit out of this. But
I like it. Keep going.
Yeah. So anyway, so those are pretty much the ones that like matter, I feel like.
Yeah.
You know, there's a bunch of other dragons and we could talk about other characters, but Violet pretty much bonds with Andarna because
she's getting
she's like walking through the woods and then all of a sudden like there's a small little dragon, golden dragon, and Jack Barlow, bitch ass. He's like trying to kill her. Yeah. So pretty much Violet and Taryn end up like saving her.
Yeah. And then so she bonds. Yeah, the little one, and that's like unheard of. Again, now we're at this
another
point,
iconic scene.
Yeah, now we're at the point where not only did Violet bond with the largest dragon as being like the smallest freaking person ever, but she bonded with two dragons, which is like unheard of. And people are like, I feel like this is now when people are really questioning like how powerful she really is, because everyone's just like,
you're like this weak little girl,
and they're like, how did you, of all people, bond with two?
The biggest dragon, and then like the most. No one really knows who Andarna
is at this point. But then it also like circles back around because like Thagel and like Taryn or whatever, like they're connected. So then that means like they can't really be separated. So it automatically ties her to Xaden a little bit. And you're just reading
even better.
Yeah, you're like, yay. You're like, it all comes together here, folks.
And there's also a hint in the book that's saying that orange dragons are like always like the trickiest, like sneaky, like dragons, and Jack Barlow is bonded with that. So we already know that's a shitty person.
Yeah, he's shitty.
But I mean, I guess we could talk about like the characters too, like in this book, like so like obviously we have Violet, we have Xaden.
Yeah, obviously. Dane really starts going downhill. I think at this point, because now like Violet and Xaden are like a thing, and Dane's like pissed off because Dane had a thing for Violet or has a thing for Violet and is really over. You need to stay away from him, and he's not good for you, and he's bad, and he's whatever. And then you're like, F right off.
Yeah.
Get the hell out of here. Stop being a cockblock and just go away. Please.
So like Dane's another wing leader too. So he's already been in the college. So then also in like her little squad, which like kind of the same as ACOTAR, like the inner circle. So like they have like their little squad or whatever. Yeah. So it's like Rhiannon, Sawyer, Riddick, and I don't think Liam was part of their squad, now that I'm trying to remember. I think that was one of Xaden's friends, though, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So.
But I don't think that he was part of the squad, but I think that, like, he slowly, because, like, him and Violet, like, become close.
Yeah, because Violet was always getting beat up or cornered, so pretty much Xaden was like, Liam, you are Violet's bodyguard. Which, like, I loved because, like you said, like, you get to love Liam.
Yeah.
Like, he is...
I mean, Rebecca did that on purpose for a reason, because...
Yeah. We have a lot of feelings about Rebecca Yarros that we could talk about later, but...
Yeah, and we will. We'll talk about it in other episodes.
And, like, Rhiannon, we already know that she's, like, kind of like a badass girl. Yeah. She's Violet's, like, really good friend. And then Sawyer and Riddick are just, like, two, like, fucking class clowns.
Is Imogen in this?
Yeah, Imogen is friends with Xaden and Garrick.
Yeah.
So like
they have like but they're kind of morphing together at this point. Like they're like his group of friends is kind of like becoming their god. You said Riddick, and now I'm just like
I know because so like I said, they're just like class clowns. Like you'll read this book and you're like Riddick is like your number one because you're like you are just so funny.
Yeah.
And like throughout the books, he gets better and better.
Yeah, it's just like But anyways,
So dragons too. Like Taryn, I love Taryn.
Yeah, I think I love more that someone came up with like his voice, like on like TikTok video of just like that deep raspy, because it just fuels my imagination like even more, because like when you're reading it and you're just like they describe like his voice like in her like their connection and everything, and you're kind of imagining it like deep, but like hearing it you're just like it's perfect. Like, it's perfect. That's exactly how he would sound. Like I love it. Anytime he opens his mouth with his like smart ass witty comments, or just
and he's just like an old grumpy man.
Yeah,
like that's what he reminds me of.
He hates everything and like tolerates Violet.
Yeah.
Like he's just like, yeah, I guess, like, you know, I'll protect you with all of my being, but like also you piss me off.
Yeah,
because like
you're annoying.
Then they start like flying like lessons and she can't stay on him, and so basically designs like this freaking contraption that's like a seatbelt. So she can,
a saddle.
Yeah, saddle, so she can like stay on him, because otherwise like he just keeps like basically catching her as she's like rolling off of his body.
And then like Andarna can't like really fly long like periods of time, so like then he has a little like backpack like mechanism thing, so Andarna's like clipped into that, and I'm like, this poor dragon, like no wonder why he's grumpy. He's like this mean, baddest, like biggest dragon. He has a fucking saddle on his back and and a little clip in the front.
But then, speaking of like his voice, and just again one of like the most like iconic like phrases is just him going, "I know exactly who and what you are, Violet Sorrengail." Like
in that deep voice,
deep voice. And if you've seen any of like the TikTok videos or a video where he's saying that, it like gives you freaking like goosebumps.
It does.
Like I can't.
And like Taryn to me, because like obviously we kind of skipped over this, when you're bonded with a dragon you have like a mental mind connection with them, so like they could talk back and forth, but like Taryn reminds me of like Venom. Like how he always has like venom in the back of his head, like he'll have a thought and then Taryn's always like making some smart ass freaking comment to like Violet, like he's like, should I get the wing leader or whatever, and like you just like die laughing because you're like, oh my god, this is great. Or like every time
he's just such a grumpy man.
I think it's more in the second booklet, every time Andarna like talks or like gives like tood, he's like adolescence, like, you know, he's just like so over the shit. He's like, I'm just like trying to like fly with my bitch Seagull or whatever, like, and then you guys just come along.
Like,
he's like, let me live
my life. It's so good. I love it.
It is so good.
I love it. His first book is freaking amazing. And I also just love, like, we have a bunch of quotes here, but like quotes like even by like Xaden throughout the book, like going for blood today, are we violence? And like the fact that like that's her like nickname like from him is just like violence. You're just like,
I know. I actually love that nickname. Out of all the nicknames from like all different books, like that is like definitely one of my top ones.
And then like her just being my name is Violet, and then him just, I think my version fits you best. You're like, ugh.
Yeah, no, Xaden has like such iconic lines.
And then just him being, you look frail and breakable, but you're really a violent little thing, aren't you? You're like, oh. Defenseless women have never been my type. And you're like, okay.
Yeah, obviously. We all know that you love her.
Or there's nowhere in existence you couldn't go that I wouldn't find you violent. I mean, come on.
Yeah, literally. So good.
And then, Taryn, should I get the wing leader?
Yeah. I think that was like, that made me love Taryn. Because, you know, she's like trying to like get, obviously we were saying how like every time, she can't control the lightning, but like every time they like did it, like the lightning would come out. So she's trying to like control her signet, which was lightning, whatever, wielding. And that's when he's like, should I get the wing leader? Because he's like, obviously when he around, you shooting them everywhere. But that's another thing about the book. So each person kind of has like a signet or whatever, like, and once you bond to a dragon, that's when it really like shows. So like Violet's is lightning, Xaden is like shadows, but he has a second signet, which is like, I can't even say that. I don't know. He could like pretty much read people's minds, like read their thoughts and their feelings. I don't know. I can't say the word.
I'm trying, but I don't really know what this word spells out. Intrinsic?
Yes. Okay. Maybe. Yeah. Something like that.
I don't know. Sorry, guys. We're mentally handicapped.
Yeah, but Violet doesn't know that he could do that. And people who have those types of signets, they actually get like killed because it's like a super dangerous like one. So
you're not supposed to have it.
Kind of has like that too. Like he has memory, like
like mind reading a little bit, or like he can read memories, like when he touches you and shit. Like he can, which is again, we lead to another like where Dane really starts to just like piss you off because he's like trying to get into like Violet's like head, or and like she's like so clueless, like she has like no idea, and he's like really trying, and you're just like,
just stop.
Yes,
just stop. So then they're all bonded with their dragons, and then they have to do like this war games type of thing. Yeah. So pretty much they each go to like a different area, and then they have to, I forget what a flag or I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
And
I think it's a flag.
Yeah. Pretty much they kind of get set up by like the leadership, I feel like, because Violet is supposed to go a certain way with a different team, but then she ends up going to the one place with Xaden. It ends up being like a setup. So like there's like this like power that Violet always thought was just like a fairy tale, not a fairy tale, but like a little like folklore that her dad would like tell her. But there's like Venin and Wyvern.
Yeah,
I think that's what it is. And pretty much they actually end up being real. So the Venin kind of come and like attack like this place. So she's super unprepared, and they have to like fight these Venin and these Wyvern and whatever. And she ends up getting like poison, like I forget, they like touch her and like she gets some like poisoning from them. So she pretty much like goes into a coma, pretty much. And
night.
Sorry, I forgot to add a point. Her sister is also like, I think she's almost like graduated or whatever, and she's already off in like a war like area, like station.
Yeah.
And then her brother Brennan is supposed to be dead. So that's how kind of like the book ends or whatever. Like Xaden like brings her, which Xaden's POV at the end, loved. Xaden brings her to this one place. I don't know. Oh my god, guys, sorry. I like will butcher all these words, especially since they are out there.
Follow along.
So they go to like this one place, and she's in the coma, and then when she wakes up from the coma, Brennan is there, who's her brother, and that's like how the book ends, and it's like the biggest fucking cliffhanger.
Yeah, you're like, what the
holy shit. Like they're in this random town, and her brother's
That's when you know, I feel like when her brother is alive, like like something, it's like a bigger picture. Like something you kind of get that really too. Like you're like something's really like I feel like they're kind of like, oh, like we're training you, like you're gonna graduate, like ha ha, and we'll have you like stationed, but you're just like, no, like
there's some real shit going on.
There's some real shit going on out there. Like shit's about to go down. Like this is actually like very fucking important information that you like. You need to like master. We're training you for. It's not really just to graduate, sort of, and
like the other thing is too, like throughout this book you kind of see like Xaden's like meeting up with like these people, and he doesn't want Violet to have any idea of like what's going on, and they're pretty much doing something to better something else, which like obviously we're not going to get into, but so that brings me to a conclusion though, that Violet starts to annoy me at the end of this book and towards in the second book, because he's trying to do something to make like good of something else, and he doesn't want her knowing, and like she just always is like, oh, you're so secretive and blah blah blah, like all that stuff, and I'm like, dude, like there's just some things the man can't tell you.
Right.
Like he'll probably tell you in the end, but like, there's things that the man can't tell you.
It's like it's like the bigger picture, and she's just like
being selfish.
And she's like, oh, it's like, oh, I guess you really like don't like me that much because like you won't like let me in, and you're like, bro, it ain't about you.
Yeah.
Like, it ain't all about you. Like, there is a world here, there's a war, like things are happening, like all this stuff. So yeah, she did. She kind of started to become a little like whiny, and I was like, I need you to put on your big girl pants, and I need you to like
toughen up.
Yeah.
And like the sad parts of the book, there's 2 deaths in this book, which like this is what I actually like Rebecca Yarros for, because she's not scared to kill people off. Like, I feel like in some books, like it's like so fairy tale like that it's like, okay, like
they never die. Or
and then this book, it was just kind of like you felt betrayed because you're like, oh, it's supposed to be like a fairy tale, and then someone died that you really like. So like during this like little battle thing with like the venom, like Violet tries to save Liam. Liam ends up dying, which I also cried at this point.
I cried, and his dragon died.
Yeah, because
they're bonded, and so it's like that's usually like how it works. Like,
and his words at the end, he's like, "It's been my honor," and I was like, "Dead, deceased, what?" Like another tearjerker. But another good thing was that Violet killed Jack Barlow.
Yes. That was happy. I was like, get that man.
Yeah. She kills him like with the lightning, which like she didn't really intend to. I think she was just trying to kind of like just harm him, but not in like a death way.
I wasn't mad.
That sounds really weird, but
I wasn't mad about it.
You know, I wasn't mad about it too. I was like, the bully got what he deserved.
Yeah,
because he'd been trying to kill this girl.
Work. Yeah, he was a real piece of freaking work. But no, Liam's death destroyed me. I was like,
yeah.
I was like, Rebecca knew what she was doing. Oh, you're gonna be Violet's bodyguard, and oh, I'm gonna make you fall in love with him. And you're like, wow, this guy's like really freaking sweet, has a good heart, is protecting his Xaden's bro, like just an all around good freaking character. And then she's like, dead.
Yeah,
like,
and I'm like,
are
you literally are a bitch.
I was like, I definitely was like sobbing at that point. Like, I'm pretty sure Shane, like when I was reading this book, like on my Kindle, was like, I'm hearing noises like from you. Like, are you okay? I'm like,
no,
I'm
not okay.
Actually, I'm really not. Sorry. You know, and they kind of don't understand. Like, I'll be like, you're just killed off. Like, it really. And he's like, oh,
yeah,
like, you don't get it.
Liam said, my honor. It's been my honor.
It's been my honor. Ugh, that line. She knew what she was doing. But anyways, all right. Yeah. Well, we do have some questions to ask each other for the end of this book, so I guess we'll get into that before we get more off topic. I guess we can just pass this back and forth. But what dragon would you pick to be yours? I feel like that's.
I'm between. I don't know, because it's, you guys, it's really hard when you do this, because like obviously we've completed this whole series. Well, there's 2 more books gonna come out, but like we've already like finished the 3 books that we have, so it's kind of hard to like,
you have like all this
after you learn more about like something. So
maybe
just from reading Fourth Wing, I'd probably bond Taryn.
Yeah, for sure,
because he's just funny.
I think
what about you? Taryn too?
I mean, I also want Andarna too. I want them as a package.
Yeah. Well, if you bond Taryn, you bond her too, so
like,
you get both.
I want both for sure. Like, I don't. Like, I want her, like, little sassy adolescent, like, remarks. Along with, like, Taryn's, like, grumpiness. But, I don't know. It's just hard because we do know, like, so much information that is, like, you don't want to jump. Like, I
jump the gun here.
Like, other things for other reasons, but I won't. What signet would you choose?
I don't know. Something with the shadows, I think.
Yeah. Everyone's just so badass. I mean, Violet's like lightning is pretty freaking cool too, but
like, what other purpose do you use it for besides like just killing people? Like, I feel like with the shadows, you could do like a lot more. I feel like
the shadows, and I feel like even though, you know, like Dane's kind of in the shitter at this moment, like the memory thing is like freaking cool. Like,
yeah, definitely.
Like, the thing is, like, it's kind of fucking dope.
Like, even, like, Xaden's second signet or whatever about, like, being able to, like, read people's thoughts. Like, I don't think I would want to read certain people's thoughts. You know what I mean? Right. Like, what if you just, like, walk by and it's just, like, you hear someone, like, oh, like, my stomach really hurts. And I'm like, oh, my God, I did not want to, like, hear that. You know? Like, something gross.
No, I agree. I completely agree. Well, who is your least favorite character?
Jack, yeah.
For sure. That was easy. What character would be your best friend?
Riddick.
Yeah, I was gonna say like Liam and Riddick. Yeah. 1,000%. But again, because we just know more now. Okay. You think that we would survive the parapet, so I wasn't too sure about myself.
I think we had it.
Would you be the book smart friend or the street smart? I'd be the book smart.
I'd be the street smart. Because
we'd balance each other out.
When it comes to like history, I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, no, I would be like Violet. I'd be like, I gotta read every book. Like that would be me, and you'd be like, let's just go do this thing.
Yeah, I'd be like, okay, so how we poison in this person? What?
Let's just see how it goes.
And make the concoctions.
Yeah.
You could read about it and make it.
We would do well together, maybe. I think, yeah. No, I would not be street smart at all. I'd be like, please help me. Yeah. Please help me.
But obviously, this is just our little tidbits of the book. Like, there's so much more to this book. So much more happens.
This book is huge. So much more happens. But once again, we would be talking for like an hour and a half, 2 hours going into detail. And I feel like our thoughts for this podcast isn't to like
do that.
Yeah, it's not to tell you in great detail the book that you guys have already read or potentially want to read. Is to talk about the iconic moments, the characters, and just like our thoughts on them. So yeah, hopefully you like that. But until next time.
Yeah, hope you enjoyed. Thanks for listening.